live streaming the meeting. Womanjika. This is a word in the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung language meaning welcome. I am the Mayor, Councillor Bruce Lancashire. I declare this meeting open at 7 p.m. I would like to welcome members of the public who have joined us in the chamber tonight. Members of the public attending council and committee meetings are expected to behave respectfully at all times and not permitted to engage with the councillors or council officers during the course of the meeting. Councillors and officers are employees, have a right to be safe and treated with respect at their workplace. You may be asked to leave the meeting if your behaviour is considered inappropriate, disruptive or rude. We will not tolerate any behaviour that threatens the safety of anyone present in the chamber or which disrupts the ability for council to conduct its business on behalf of the community. In the unlikely event of an emergency, please follow the direction of council officers and the emergency procedures on the wall near the door. I would like to note that I have given approval to Channel 31 to live stream this meeting. A recording of the meeting will be published on Council's website. Please stand for the acknowledgement of the country. On behalf of Brimbank City Council, I respectfully acknowledge and recognise the Wurundjeri and Bunurong peoples as the traditional custodians of this land and pay respect to their elders, past, present and future. I ask councillors to remain standing for the council commitment. Others may be seated. As the council, we will act in the best interests of the Brimbank community and consider the immediate and long-term impacts of our decisions. We will make these decisions fairly and without bias. We will uphold all of our obligations under the laws of Victoria and Council's local laws, and we will act in accordance with our code of conduct. Councillors, please be seated. Apologies and leave of absence. Councillor Dang submitted a request for leave of absence for the period from the 29th of April to the 14th of May 2023. May I have a mover of a motion to grant the request? Councillor Rassick.
I move the motion. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Borg.
I'll second the motion.
I will move the motion. All those in favour? Motion carried. Disclosure of conflicts of interest. Are there any declarations of conflicts of interest?
No.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I declare conflict of interest on item 12.5.
Thank you. Any other conflicts of interest? Thank you. Designation of items as designation of items as confidential. Do I have a mover of the motion? Councillor Dang. Sorry, Councillor Nguyen.
I move the motion as business papers.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Rassick.
I second the motion as per shared screen.
Thank you. I will move the motion. All those in favour? Motion carried. Confirmation of minutes of previous meetings. May I have a mover of motion to confirm the minutes of the previous meeting?
I move the motion as per shared screen.
Councillor Papalia. Do I have a seconder?
Seconded, Mr Mayor.
Councillor David. I will move the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Item 7, condolences. There are no items of condolences this evening. Congratulations. There are no items of congratulations this evening. Public question time. Ms Blatchford, I understand we have received questions from members of the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. First question tonight comes from Claire Nomdegar. Given the recent extreme increase in politically motivated threats and abuse directed at library staff and patrons across Greater Melbourne, what measures will the Council put in place immediately to provide digital and physical protection for library staff and patrons?
Thank you. Abusive or threatening behaviour, either in person or digitally, is not tolerated. The safety and well-being of staff and community members visiting council facilities is a priority. Council's libraries have a range of procedures and processes in place for managing situations involving aggressive and threatening behaviour. This includes, but is not limited to, de-escalation strategies, regular staff training, contracting emergency services and contracting protective services where required.
Our second question this evening is from Annie Wormold. Following the Victorian Government's support of bush kinder programs and recent announcement of $3.6 million to provide $6,000 grants to 150 kindergartens each year to help them establish bush kinder programs, what proactive steps is Brimbank City Council doing to identify these potential future bush kinder sites and plant the trees there now that will need time to grow to benefit these spaces for the growth in bush kinder programs in the municipality?
Thank you. The bush kinder program funding is provided to early education providers and are located in natural environments to provide valuable opportunities for children to explore the natural environment. Council has no formal role in the program but can assist in identifying suitable and child-safe locations for bush kinders in partnership with the early education providers that have responsibility to undertake risk assessments to ensure all bush kinder sites are safe to run programs. Council will continue to improve and upgrade parks to ensure all community members can access quality play and outdoor activities, including bush kinders.
Our third question this evening is from Annie Wormold. Are you aware of the ongoing request from April 2022 of a local kindergarten to commence a weekly bush kindergarten program at Matthews Hill, Sunshine?
Thank you. Council officers have been working closely with early education providers to identify suitable sites for a bush kinder program in Brimbank. Early education services have nominated sites for bush kindergartens. However, council officers have recognised various safety risks, making them unsuitable for children and bush kindergarten programs. Council officers will continue to assess sites in Brimbank suitable for bush kinder programs and will work with early education providers to use these sites for bush kinder.
Our fourth question this evening is from Mark Jerkov. With regards to the illegal establishment of a roadway cutting through private properties in Solomon Heights, when and where will the results of the investigation be published?
Thank you. This matter is still under investigation, and at this time there is no information available on when or where the results of this investigation will be published.
Our fifth question this evening is from Boris Illick. Why is there another 5G tower being put up recently on the restricted building site area in the no-go zone end of Sydenham Road, Delahey? We know they are very dangerous.
Thank you. The existing telecommunications tower at 148 Sydenham Road was recently upgraded to provide 5G technology to service the Delahey area. The works were exempt from local and state government approval in accordance with the Telecommunications Low Impact Facilities Determination 2018.
Our sixth question this evening is from Boris Illick. What is the purpose of 10 or more speed humps along Sydenham Road in a 60-kilometre zone?
Thank you. The road humps along Sydenham Road were installed in conjunction with the additional parking constructed along Sydenham Road. This was part of the Car Parks for Commuters program and funded by the federal government. They were a recommendation of a road safety audit in 2021 to reduce vehicle speeds given the additional potential conflict points associated with the parking.
Our seventh question this evening is from Graham Bloor. At a time when cost of living pressures are profoundly impacting our LGA and nation, why is Brimbank Council relying of an outdated sports development plan written in 2018, pre-COVID, that doesn't reflect the changing needs of our population, its diversity, and the massive costs for residents of playing soccer to the exclusion of other sports, including Australian rules football, when in Canley we cannot even get one set of Australian rules goalposts?
Thank you. Council is currently updating the sports facility development plan and expects it to be available for community consultation mid-year prior to all feedback. I'll read that again. Council is currently updating the sports facility development plan and expects it to be available for community consultation mid-year prior to all feedback being considered and final adoption around September 23. This update will ensure the most up-to-date information is considered by Council. Football ovals are located in Deer Park and Robert Bruce Reserve to meet the needs of the Canley community.
Our eighth question is from Graham Bloor. Why has Council not acted on ratepayers' requests to ensure that the public gallery has adequate sound to cater for the hearing disadvantaged regarding discussions in Council meetings, given that this request has been raised years ago and continues to be ignored, along with excessive delays in emailing ratepayers the answers of questions asked and sometimes answered in Council meetings?
Thank you. Council chambers have undergone a significant change in audio setup over the last month. We would welcome feedback from the community about any continued issues with sound quality or accessibility for this meeting.
Our ninth question this evening is from John Zeri. What are you going to do about small business that the Brimbank Aquatic Centre has made them lost business? Examples, gym and swimming centre. A lot of these places are doing bad since the Aquatic Centre opened.
Thank you. Planning for the Brimbank Aquatic and Wellness Centre included ensuring that the facility complied with the National Competition Policy and providing consumers with a choice of facilities at a range of price points in order to meet their health and fitness needs.
Our final question this evening is from John Zeri. How much does it cost each time a fire truck comes to the Brimbank Aquatic Centre?
Thank you. Council worked closely with the MFB in the planning and design of the centre. The MFB has not charged Council for responding to incidents and false alarms at the centre to date, as they are aware of the situation that Council is working through in some relation to the overly sensitive smoke detectors in the facility. Petitions. There is one petition to be received. The Keilor Sports Club. Council received a petition with 443 signatories requesting Council to consider Brimbank City Council's draft budget to provide funding for refurbishment of the Keilor Sports Club's facility. May I have a mover of a motion to receive this petition?
Mr.
Councillor
Mayor,
Tarkos.
thank you. Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept this petition. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kerr.
I second the petition acceptance. Thank you, as per the papers.
Thank you. I move the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Item 11, minutes reports of delegated committees. May I have a mover of a motion to note the minutes and delegates report of the Lead West Joint Delegated Committee? Do I have a mover? Oh, sorry.
Mr.
Councillor
Mayor, I
Tarkos.
move that the minutes of Lead West are accepted. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Sorry, Councillor Borg.
I'll second the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favour of that motion? Thank you. Officer reports. There are 9 officer reports for consideration by Council tonight. If you have an alternative or amended motion this evening, you must draft these motions and provide them to the governance team via email so that they may be shared on screen and form part of the evening. Otherwise, we may have to defer the matter until the motion has been written, allowing the meeting to proceed uninterrupted. Item 12.1, Planning Activity Update and Delegate Decisions and Planning Scheme Amendments Update, April 2021. Could I have the Acting Director, Ms Gilbert, present their report? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to report to Council on planning permit applications and planning scheme amendments in Brimbank in April 2023. During this month, there were 60 new planning permit applications received with an estimated cost of development of $25.8 million. 73 planning applications and 19 subdivision applications were determined during April. Planning Scheme Amendment C216 was gazetted in April, introducing a parking overlay into the scheme for St Albans and Sunshine. It's recommended that Council note the report.
Thank you. Councillors, do I have any questions for the Director? Is there a mover of a motion? Councillor Borg.
I'll move the motion as per business papers.
Do I have a seconder of the motion? Councillor Papalia. Thank you. Councillor Borg, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Papalia, would you like to speak to the motion? Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? Okay. I will put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. Motion is carried. Item 12.2, Quarterly Budget Report, January, February, March 2023. Mr. Maher, could you speak to the report, please?
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is for Council to consider the quarterly budget report and accompanying statements for the period ending 31st of March 2023. The quarterly budget report is a requirement under Local Government Act 2020 and includes a detailed 9-month review of Council's operating and capital performance as at the 31st of March 2023. It is recommended that Council notes the report and accompanying statements for the period. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions for the Director? Is there a mover of a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move an amended motion. Thank you. And as per shared screen, I would like to add point B, that a report be provided to Council at the next meeting, providing an update on the status and delays to works at Sydenham Park and other infrastructure projects within the park, including any steps required to expedite the completion of these projects.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder of that motion? Councillor Rasic.
I second the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Tarkos, do you want to speak to the motion?
Thank you. Just to say that I note the budget report that has been presented. Whilst it shows a very strong and healthy cash favourable budget. We need to also be aware that there are a lot of infrastructure projects that are still in the pipeline that are unfortunately being delayed. So that's why Part B has come into this motion to just get an update and a report at the next council meeting so that we are aware at what stages those infrastructure projects are. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Russick, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak to the motion? All those in favour of the motion? The motion is carried. Governance report 12.3, governance report for May 2023. The Director, Hill, would you like to speak to the report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The governance report is a standing report within the council meeting agenda. It's predominantly a summary of key operational and governance activity written in compliance with the Local Government Act 1989 and 2020. In this month's report, council's recommended to note the contracts entered into in accordance with S7 Instrument of Subdelegation, the records of informal meetings of council, and the delegates and representative reports. It also asks council to resolve a council delegate to the Metropolitan Transport Forum and note the officer submission to the Victorian Legislative Council Environment and Planning Committee on behalf of council in response to the 2022 flood event in Victoria. It also asks council to consider awarding the contract for Dempster Park tennis refurbishment. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions for the Director? Is there a mover of a motion? Councillor Tarkos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the motion as per shared screen.
Thank you. Is there a seconder to the motion? Councillor David. Thank you. Councillor Tarkos, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you. Just to adopt this report, but I just wanted to speak to point 3, Mr. Mayor. In this governance report, I note that the submission that a very strong submission that our council has put forward regarding the Maribyrnong River flood event that occurred on the 14th of October 22. I think that it's vital that the strong advocacy that is provided on behalf of our residents and communities regarding mitigation of future riverine floods, and that it is vital that that communities that are along the Maribyrnong River and that were impacted are heard, and as many are still recovering from the impacts of these floods, including in Keilor. Of particular importance is future emergency management, flood mitigation strategies, flood mapping, the need for health risk assessment, insurance policy impacts from floods. A lot of people that are on floodplains are not insured, and financially this can be quite detrimental to our communities. Can I just also add that a better early warning system needs to be treated as a priority, because this was the main point that was brought up by several times by residents in our area in particular. And greater support is also needed from Melbourne Water, particularly as the Maribyrnong River actually starts in Brimbank, and we still remain without a river keeper. I hope that this report yields a thorough response from an independent inquiry. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. Councillor David.
I have nothing to say. I think Councillor Tarkos is very well there. Thank you.
Thank you. Does any other councillors have any would like to speak to the motion? Okay, I'll move the motion. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Thank you. No speaking from the gallery, please. All those in favour of the motion? Thank you. The motion is passed. Item 12.4, Council Plan 2021-25, Year 2 Annual Action Plan, Quarter 3 Progress Report. Director Hill, if you'd like to speak to the motion, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of this report is to provide a progress report on the Council Plan 2021 to 2025 Annual Action Plan for the period from January to March 2023. The recommendation is that Council notes the state of actions as presented in the report. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for the Director? Would someone like to move a motion? Thank you. Councillor Borg?
I'll move the motion as per shared screen.
Thank you. Would someone like to second the motion? Councillor Tarkos?
Mr Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Borg, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a highly detailed progress report which provides results and analysis for the 119 actions in the 2022-2023 Council Plan Annual Action Plan. The actions align with the strategic objectives of the implementation of Together We Are Brimbank. As the holder of the People portfolio, I would like to make a few highlights. The support that Council is providing to improve mental health through various actions, including but not limited to working closely with CoHealth and IPC, the provision of community health and well-being services across lifespan, the promotion of the importance of education and encourage lifelong learning across generations, and the support Council is providing to community access to education and jobs. Speaking of education and jobs, it was great to recently witness the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding with Victoria University, which sounds very promising. I commend this report to Council.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. Councillor Tarkos, would you?
Thank you, and I echo the words of Councillor Borg. Just want to pick up on the last two threads. Being a member of the Arts Committee, I'm glad to see that the actions of ensuring the public art collection is available online for people to be able to access it, as well as developing a 4-year plan for the Bowery Theatre as well. This will mean to maximise the program models, improve theatre hire, attendance and income. I have a strong belief that the Be Bold mantra of the Bowery needs to start here in Brimbank, with so many talented artists who are looking to share their art and expression, with the Bowery Theatre being the conduit and stage for to reward emerging artists. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillor like to speak to this motion? Okay. All those in favour of the motion? Thank you. Motion carried. Item 12.5, Brimbank Community Grants Program 2023 to 2024. Categories. Director Dumble, would you like to speak to this motion, please?
Thank you, Mayor. This report is presented to Council to consider the proposed categories for Brimbank's 2023 to 24 annual community grants. The proposed categories are community strengthening, climate emergency, mental health and wellbeing, young people's ideas, community festivals and events, major festival and events, and seniors operational grants. Council is also asked to consider endorsing the opening of 2 year-round grant categories, responsive grants and establishment grants, which will be assessed triannually in February, August and November each year. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for the Director? Could I have a mover of the Councillor Nguyen? Thank you. Do we have a seconder of the motion? Councillor Tarkos?
Second as per shared screen. Thank you.
Councillor Nguyen, would you like to speak to the motion, please? Thank you. Can we be quiet in the gallery, please? Would you like to speak to someone else's?
Thank you, Councillor Dane. Thank you. It's a great time that this the community grants program report has come back to the council meeting, and I want to acknowledge that this week is actually National Volunteer Week, and the theme is change makers. And being as part of council, we know that the backbone of our community are the volunteers, the community groups, and the organisations and not-for-profits that contribute to so much of building Brimbank's vibrant community. It is without volunteers and community groups, I don't think we would have as much social services to the people in need in Brimbank. That ranges from homelessness to helping young people in need, and a challenge that's faced by many people wanting to create change is there's a lot of costs and funding involved. I know it's funny, volunteering is not costless. It takes time, effort, money, and if there's anything that council can do to empower the people that want to make change in our community, I think that's fantastic. And one way that councils do that, especially Brimbank, is a community grants process. And I'm so happy to see that in this council term alone, we have put in a lot more effort to be more inclusive to the people that can apply to these community grants. And it's always in response to community needs and feedback. Like, for example, in this council term in 2021, for the first time, we introduced a $200,000 recovery community grant to include a youth support category to impact young people who are mostly impacted by the pandemic. And it's so fantastic to see that this has led on to the incorporation of the Young People's Idea Grants. And we all know that young people want to make a change, but it's just that they don't have the resources, but the will is there. So it is fantastic that this category continues to be there. And likewise, like, our grant categories are developed in response to our local community's challenges, priorities, and needs. And that does include addressing the climate emergency, mental health and well-being, community festival and event grants, the major ones as well, and of course the seniors operational grants. And I gotta say, like, Brimbank would not be as vibrant without our events, just one of the grants. Like, if you think about Lunar Year at the start of the year, but however, we have heard feedback from the community that they need an earlier notice of their outcome on the application for the community grants. So based on this, we've changed the timeframes to allow for more time for community groups to put in their application, but also for them to get a response sooner so they can start planning events more confidently. And that's really helpful if your event's at the start of the year. And also, I remember just talking to so many people in the community, and they go, "Oh, Council New, and we have this great idea." And the response has always been, "Oh, that's great, you can apply to the grants process." But the thing is, we only had one time in the year where you could apply for grants. So once again, based on hearing community feedback, that's why we've introduced these two new categories that are open all year round. And they're going to be assessed 3 times in a year. And responsive grants, and that is also the establishment grants. Like, as we know, there can be crises that emerge out of nowhere, unexpectedly. And there's these times where, for example, our culture community groups are the best place to deliver the support that our local community members need. And that needs to happen in a short time frame. And it's so good that we have the responsive needs grants. And of course, if you're a new unincorporated group and you're hoping to establish yourself, and that can happen at any time during the year, there is also established grants ready for you as well. So I just want to say thank you to the staff for listening to the community feedback. Thank you to all the volunteers, the community organisers for strengthening and contributing to Brimbank. Like, we hope the community grants help you in this process. And please, your feedback is always appreciated. And together, I hope we continue building a community together. And yeah, hope you have a better experience with the community grants this year, and we'll continue to improve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tarkos?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think Councillor Nguyen covered most of the points, but just great that Council are rolling out the community grants across the year and not just in a time frame or small window where a lot of people narrowly missed out in the past. This will give them more time and a greater certainty, particularly for major festivals and events and running at the start of the year. I would also like to provide some positive feedback to the actual staff, because one of the things that we also talked about was it's not always easy for people to apply grants. We just assume that they could get online and apply for a grant. However, there is quite a lot of detail involved. So we did ask for a lot more support around the grant writing process for our diverse community, as it can be quite challenging. So with this also, I'd like to thank the staff that actually not only help with the grant applications, but are there during the events and the festivals that support the community. And the thing that I like about that is they ensure that the event runs smoothly and are always receptive to feedback on how we can make them better in the future as well. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. Is there any other councillor wishing to speak to the motion? Councillor Borg?
Just quickly, Mr. Mayor, to reiterate what Councillor Nguyen and Councillor Tarkos commented. It's always a great pleasure to receive such a report coming to Council. The community looks very much forward to it, to apply for these grants. The community in Brimbank is quite vibrant, diverse, and creative, among other things. And at grassroots level, various communities deliver projects that enhance the community's health and well-being, support lifelong learning, and promote communities' strengthening. As a local government, it's important that we continue to financially support these projects. It's always a great pleasure to attend these events and programs that Council has supported throughout through these grants. It's important to note also that Council is proposing a new responses grants category of $2,000.
Quiet in the gallery, please. Sorry, Councillor Borg.
In the past, there has been situations in which the community needed to deliver a program due to some unforeseen circumstances and required financial support. I encourage the community to apply for these grants when they become available to the public, and also to make use of the support that the council officers provide in helping to the community with the application forms. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. Is there any other councillor wishing to speak to this motion? In that case, I move the motion. All those in favour? Thank you. Motion is carried. Could we have Councillor O'Reilly and Councillor David return to the chamber, please? Thank you. Item 12.6 to 12.9 are contracts. Could we have Director Levers speak to the motions, please?
Thank you, Mayor. There are 4 contracts in front of you tonight. The first is for the provision of security services. The report is to consider an extension of a current contract for a 2-year period. Council initially approved the current contract in May 2020 for a 3-year period with the option for a 2-year further period at the discretion of Council. The services under this contract are for security guard patrols, monitoring services and ad hoc requirements for all council facilities. The current provider has provided a good level of service during the initial contract term, and it's recommended to extend that contract. Would you like me to do the further reports, Mayor?
I believe so.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. The second of the reports is a contract for landscaping works. This is to consider awarding a panel contract for landscaping works. The contract is for an initial 3-year period with the option to extend for a further 2-year period, and the contract is a schedule of rates contract. The third report, item 12.8, is a civil works panel contract, and it's for you to consider, and that's also a schedule of rates contract. And the fourth report, 12.9, is a contract for the supply of motor vehicles, and it's for Council to consider approving the use of the State Government of Victoria VicFleet Open Panel State Purchasing Contract for motor vehicles. and that would be for a period of up to 5 years. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, do we have any questions for the Director? I just have one question relating to the supply of motor vehicles. Will that allow the purchase of electric vehicles?
Through the Mayor, yes, it's not exclusive for electric vehicles, but certainly would allow for that.
Thank you.
I'd like to.
Sorry?
Mr. Mayor, I move a motion to have those items 12.6 to 12.9 in a block as per the officer recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Papalia. Do we have a seconder of that motion? Councillor Tarkos.
I second that as per shared screen. Thank you.
Councillor Papalia, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
Councillor Tarkos, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? Okay. All those in favour of the motion? Thank you. The motion is passed. Notices of motion. There are 3 notices of motion. The first, Brimbank Park Maintenance and Access Notice of Motion. Councillor Thomas O'Reilly, would you like to speak to that notice of motion? Sorry, would you like to move that notice of motion?
I'd like to move the motion as per the shared screen.
Thank you. Is there anyone seconding that notice of motion? Councillor Kerr.
I second the motion as per the shared screen.
Thank you. Would anyone like, Councillor O'Reilly, would you like to speak to the motion? Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Lancashire. Sunshine College is a multi-campus secondary school in Brimbank. Through the Victorian School Building Authority, the North and West campuses recently received upgrades. A new STEM facility was built at the North Campus, whilst the West Campus was rebuilt. As part of the works, Sunshine College was also consolidated from 4 to 2 campuses. The former Ardea campus, previously known as Ardea High School, and the former senior campus, previously known as Sunshine Technical School, have been vacant since 2020. The buildings on the former senior campus, specifically the Sunshine Girls Technical School, built in 1938, as well as the Sunshine Technical School Boys Wing, built in 1941, were saved from demolition and had been nominated for inclusion in the Victorian Heritage Register in 2021 with the support of community advocacy. It was proposed that the open space at the site would become available for use by the adjacent Sunshine Primary School, as well as community recreational use outside school hours until the site was to be activated for a future education use. The buildings on the former Ardea campus have been demolished, during which time there were a number of fires that destroyed the buildings, which caused community concerns. In fact, there was another fire on that site last week, even after buildings were removed. The purpose of this notice of motion is to have an update on the land of the former Sunshine College campuses in Sunshine and Sunshine West being returned for interim community use, and I urge my fellow councillors to support this endeavour. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Reilly. Councillor Kerr, would you like to speak to the notice of motion?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak to the notice of motion? Could I have, could we, all those in favour of the motion, sorry. Motion's carried. Item 13.2, bus service to the Sunshine North area. Councillor Rasick.
Yes, I would like to move 13.3 as per shared screen. Sorry, 13.2 as per shared screen. Thank you.
Do we have a seconder of that? Councillor Nguyen?
Mr. Mayor.
Sorry? Oh, sorry.
Okay. I'll second it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Councillor David is seconding the motion. Thank you. Councillor Rassick, would you like to speak to the notice of motion?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to say a few words. This notice of motion requesting the extension of modification of current routes that operate in the vicinity. Residents have raised serious concerns regarding the need for a bus stop. One resident in particular told me that her son was assaulted on his way home from school, and no child or parent should go through this. This incident may have been prevented had there been a bus stop or service more accessible to local residents. I have heard some of the residents in this area don't drive. I hope that a review of bus service to the Sunshine North area is made and that a much needed bus service is provided to Duke Street and the River Valley Estate. So I'm asking our local MP, Minister Ben Carroll, to look into this and to prioritise it, because we all have kids and no one wants their kids to be in danger like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rassick. Councillor David, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I would. This complaint is just one of many, Mr. Mayor. If we turn back and go back about 20 years ago, when the developers at the time came along, they just have glossy leaflets telling people about hotels, shopping centers, the lot. It was only dreaming because they're promising people things to come, and nothing came along. I myself and another couple of ward councillors at the time, and the former director, Neil Whiteside, visited the site a number of times through complaints, many complaints, and we're still coming, and they'll be still coming as we go along. We left them alone in a very sort of isolated place, if you like. There's no transport, as Councillor Russell said, and people have to walk quite a long way to take their kids from school, etc. And that's terrible. Something has to be done, and I support what Councillor Russell put forward tonight. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor David. Any other councillor like to speak to the notice of motion? Councillor Nguyen.
Yeah, I'd like to commend Councillor Rashik and Councillor David for supporting this notice of motion, because that area in River Valley Estate, there is hardly any public transport. You have to walk quite a bit to get there. And it's such a shame. It just readdresses again the public transport challenges that we have in our municipality. As a whole group of people that it's not good enough. We need to prioritize it. It's not that hard. We need more buses in Brimbank. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. Councillor O'Reilly, would you like to speak to the notice of motion?
Yes, Councillor Lancashire. Thank you for raising this, Councillor Rassick. We need more bus services in that part of Sunshine, the River Valley Estate, that connects our newer estates to the public transport network and gives people the flexibility to use different modes of transport safely. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Reilly. Would any other councillor like to speak to the notice of motion? I'll put the notice of motion. All those in favour? Notice of motion is carried. Item 13.3, Old Calder Highway, Keeler Road Safety. Notice of motion 1223. Councillor Maria Kerr, would you like to speak to this notice of motion?
Oh, I'd like to move the motion as per the shared screen. Yeah.
Thank you. And do we have a seconder? Councillor Tarkos.
I'd like to second the motion as per shared screen. Thank you.
Now, Councillor Kerr, you have an opportunity to speak to the notice of motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I raise this notice of motion as a direct result of community concerns and feedback from local Brimbank residents. Firstly, there is a huge concern for pedestrians trying to cross the Old Calder Highway from Cliff Harvey Lagoon Reserve. Cliff Harvey Lagoon Reserve in Keilor is a very popular park utilised by hundreds of people every week. On weekends, on a nice day, you can see families spilling out of the park and having a great time. With large patronage comes many cars and safety risks. Often there is not a spare car park in sight. There is also a steady stream of traffic on the Old Calder Highway in both directions. And the popularity of the Keilor Hotel and local eateries, Keilor is buzzing. This causes the safety concerns. Often many people are crossing the Old Calder Highway to go to the service station and to get back to their cars. Cars are often travelling quite fast on the decline. This is a recipe for disaster. Secondly, the Old Calder Highway, south of Ovett Newton Road, has 2 neighbouring schools. This is especially congested at school drop-off and pick-up times. Many children and families cross this road every day. Often impatient drivers do not adhere to the reduced speed limits at this time, with many vehicles travelling too fast and not stopping at the school crossing. I have received many complaints and concerns from worried residents from Keilor, Taylors Lakes and Keilor Downs. Many residents have described near misses and fear it's only a matter of time until a serious accident occurs. A local mother is in the process of arranging a petition, and I will be providing this to council in the near future. It is my duty as a councillor to bring this issue to council to advocate for safety in our community. I call on the state government and specifically the Minister for Roads and Road Safety, the Honourable Melissa Horne, and Keilor's local Member of Parliament, the Honourable Ben Carroll, the Member for Niddrie, to take this concern seriously and provide for the possibility of the installation of pedestrian-operated signals, a full safety review, and a review of the operation of the Old Calder Highway to improve road safety for motorists and pedestrians. On that basis, I'm proposing council writes to these ministers, seeking their support to address these issues as a matter of urgency. It is no secret that Brimbank is in desperate need of major road upgrades and safety measures from the Calder Freeway to Taylors Road, Station Road, and the Keilor Mountain Highway. There are so many more, too many to name. It is time that the state government listens to the concerns of residents of Brimbank to avoid unnecessary fatalities and injuries from occurring. I call on my fellow councillors to support this very important motion on behalf of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kerr. Councillor Tarkos, would you like to speak to this notice of motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I strongly support and congratulate Councillor Kerr for raising this important issue. Unfortunately, this has been an ongoing issue for many, many years. The safety along the Old Calder Highway, particularly in particular the Lagoon Reserve corridor, where many people gather on the weekends, and as Councillor Kerr said, they spill over onto a very busy thoroughfare. I have seen families, kids, elderly trying to cross to the servo, and it's absolutely frightening to see the cars coming off the hill. That is in itself a major traffic issue that don't reduce speed, creating a very problematic traffic safety issue daily. Given there are several schools, childcare centres, libraries, local shops, and surely the Minister for Roads and Road Safety would see this as a major concern for decades, and refusing to act is unacceptable to our community. Pedestrians are risking their lives, and given the popularity of these parks, which are some of the most busiest parks in Brimbank, especially on the weekends, action must be taken and immediate, with traffic management strategies and treatments to reduce risk immediately. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. Would any other councillor like to speak to this notice of motion? All those in favour of this notice of motion? The notice of motion is carried. Item 14, notices of rescission. There are no notices of rescission. Urgent business. CEO, is there any urgent business?
There is no urgent business, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam CEO. Confidential business. There are no items of confidential business. Thank you all for attending and for your interest in tonight's meeting. I declare this meeting closed at 7:55. I instruct Channel 31 to stop live streaming this meeting. Thank you.